Sound, speed, rolling. Hello there, film fans. It has been a minute. It's been a little while. Won't go into the whys and wherefores. The point is, I'm back and I've got a much better setup, as you'll see on this episode. If you're audio only, well, hopefully I sound as nice as ever. Welcome back, everybody. As you know, this is the podcast where we dive deep into films and TV shows. We get under the hood with it. We go out into the weeds with it, and we use all kind of metaphors like that as well. And we dissect what makes these films good. We're going to be looking at story, actors, how good they are at acting, cinematography, the lighting, the sound, the costumes. We go into as much as we can. And I say we, it is only I. So if this is your first time here, or if you listened to this before and you're coming back for more, there was an accidental rhyme there, please do like it or thumbs up it, whatever it is that you're watching this on. A love heart if it's Instagram, a like if it's wherever else. Subscribe so you get a little notification every time I post something new, because we'll be going thick and fast with the podcasts this time around. And yeah, please do what you can to support the channel, because it is just me. I do this by myself for the love of the game. So without further ado, the film that I'm going to be analysing today is one that I've recently only got round to watching. We are going to be doing... See, look, check out this new setup, ready? Bosh! Look at that! Primitive War. Primitive War. Basically, if Jurassic Park would pull its socks up a little bit and start getting a bit adult with the kind of concept of these massive meat-eating, man-eating behemoths of dinosaurs. If you don't know Primitive War, it is basically somehow, without getting into it, I'm going to try not to talk spoilers, but somehow in the Vietnamese jungle, so this is set during the Vietnam War. You got a troop of American soldiers out there. They get, they're in the thick of it in the Vietnamese jungle, and dinosaurs are there as well. And you watch the film, you find out why. I won't tell you because it's worth a watch. I got my copy on Blu-ray. I tried to see this film in the cinema because it's from if I'm not mistaken, it's a quite a small independent film studio. I believe based in Australia. Is it Luke Sparks, the director? But he also, I hope I've got your name right then. I should have made a little list. But this guy, I think, wrote it with someone, directed it, edited it, and he's credited like 19 times on the credits there. It's quite crazy. But that's what you got to do as an independent filmmaker sometimes. You just have to do it all yourself if no one's going to open the door for you. It's sort of the approach that works for many. So I'll read you the, because I have physical media. So anyway, as I was saying, sorry, I tried to see this film in the cinema, but it had a quite limited release because, as I say, it's a small studio, I believe from Australia. I might have that wrong. And it's quite hard to get distribution, either rights or funding or whatever. So it had a limited run and I missed it. And then it didn't come out on UK streaming for a very long time. And the option was to buy a digital copy on streaming as opposed to a physical copy, with the studio saying that they needed to make sure there was enough demand before they could invest in creating a physical copy of things. This is unfortunately the world we live in the creative industry when it comes to filmmaking. And I didn't want to buy a digital copy because, sorry to say it, Amazon, if you buy a digital copy of a film on Amazon and then Amazon Studios loses the rights to distribute that film, they have to take it off of their streaming service, which means even though you've paid for it, you've lost it. So I don't buy digital copies, I buy physical copies. So I had to wait a long time to get my hands on this and then eventually watch it, but I was very excited about this film. Let me read you the blurb on the back and then we'll get into it. Vietnam, 1968. A search and rescue team known as Vulture Squad is sent to an isolated jungle valley to uncover the fate of a missing green beret platoon. Whatever. As they hunt through the primordial depths of the valley, they discover ancient horrors that not only threaten to unravel their minds, but to end their lives as well. Dinosaurs have somehow been unleashed. When the casualties mount, the members of Vulture Squad must abandon their human nature and give in to their savage instincts in order to survive. Alright, let's get into it. This is Primitive War. Bear with me. It's the first time using this new setup, but I'm dead proud of it. So here we are. Let's get rocking. Luke Spark. There we go. Got it right. So, a bit of a mysterious kind of opening there. So yeah, with this opening scene, we get a slow track looking down at the sort of, there's heavy rain, you can hear that when the opening credits starts, we get the flashes of thunder and lightning, you can hear the rain, so you get this opening sort of creep across looking at the floor, how wet it is, and then it goes over a couple of dead American soldiers. And then we find these two guys on their own. He sounds a bit panicked, he's on the radio, so this actor's selling it, he's panicked. They sound a bit distressed, and then the music, I don't know if you were paying attention, it was just sort of slowly creeping in with these minor keys. I mean, I'm not that great at music theory, so they might not be minor keys, they might be major keys, it might be the Black Keys. Maybe the Black Keys scored this film, who knows. But it just creates that subconscious in the viewer's, mind and ears. It creates that subconscious sort of sense of danger. There's something coming somewhere. Let's carry on, shall we? All right. Something that I'm unsure whether it's a fair comment on, that I noticed with this film, because I've never served in the military, so I don't, and I've definitely never served in the American military in the 70s during the Vietnam War, so I don't know what the correct slang is, what the correct turns of phrase are for them to be using, I mean, everybody knows that they would probably refer to the Viet Cong as Charlie, because Victor Charlie, I believe, is where that comes from. It's phonetic speak, isn't it? Alpha Bravo Charlie, Viet Cong, VC, Victor Charlie. So they just call them Charlie. That's quite an easy one to understand. But I don't know if in this film, if the script is strong in those points. I don't know. A really good example of a script that always really kind of especially nailed the brotherly camaraderie and the kind of like jovial piss taking of each other, but at least to my untrained ear sounded like it was doing the right job of executing military dialogue well, would be Dog Soldiers. If anyone's ever seen Dog Soldiers, fantastic film. It's probably my favorite, what you would effectively call a B movie. That's not to insult the film. I think it's amazing. It's the best werewolf movie ever made, in my opinion. We'll see what Robert Eggers has to say about that when his film Werewolf comes out later. God, I love a bit of Robert Eggers. If you're a previous listener of the channel, you may have noticed I did a podcast audio only back then on The Witch. Please go back and listen to that if you haven't. I love that film. And he's never made a bad film, Robert Eggers. You've also got The Lighthouse, the Northman. They all start with The Witch, The Lighthouse, The Northman. Well, I guess Nosferatu was just Nosferatu, not The Nosferatu. Anyway, back to Primitive War. So this opening scene, yeah, I was just talking about the dialogue. It's just something to pay attention to throughout the film. It might be really good military dialogue, but sometimes I felt like it potentially got a little bit cheesy, but it's a film about Vietnam fighting soldiers and dinosaurs, so like, did we really care that much? No. But moments like that where this guy's on the radio talking to Thing, he knows that there's only one dude behind him. You would assume that they're aware that they're in peril and in danger at that point, like, if all their men are dead and they're like calling for an evac. We saw a shot of the other guy like looking up slowly, and the camera like looking down at him to give the sense of scale of what he's looking at. Very effective, used very commonly. It also is used to show power, So for example, you might have a police officer talking to a criminal that's just been arrested. Quite often you might have the police officer being framed upwards and the criminal being framed downwards, if you see what I mean. Hopefully that makes sense. of audio or visual. If you're on the visual, you would have seen my hands doing a wonderful job. Hit the microphone. So yeah, it shows that, but just, and and then he died. We cut back to the guy who's on the radio, and then the guy who was looking up at the dinosaur. You hear a scream, you hear a gunshot, you hear growling, and he's done. I'm like, but he was just behind you. And if you were the guy looking up at the dinosaur, you're a professional soldier at this point. You're in Vietnam. You're a professional soldier. You're definitely combat experienced because of the circumstances that you're in. Whether the combat was 30 seconds ago or you've been there for 3 months, your combat experience, whether you like it or not. Would you not shout to your mate, there's a bloody dinosaur here? So I don't know, little things like that, I'm always just like, all right, we'll take it with a pinch of salt, because this is just setting up the premise. It's doing the typical thing that you do. You introduce the problem or the villain first. The opening scene of Jurassic Park is them bringing a velociraptor into the paddock. A guy screws up and gets eaten. Jaws, woman goes for a night swim, eaten by a shark. It's usually you introduce the problem first. It's quite an effective narrative tool. You don't have to. You can do whatever you want. Make your own films. Who cares? But so that's all this is doing. But still, moments like that, I'm like, but then, it's also a film about dinosaurs, so who gives a shit? Carry on. I really liked that just then. Just seeing that little glimpse in the background as the lightning flashes at the right moment, and then you see this sort of silhouette of the dinosaur just for a split second. It's just so nice. And if I'm not mistaken, there's a really good shot here too of all the eyes. And what I like about that, let's just pause on that lovely title sequence there. What I like about that is you actually see a glimpse of the velociraptor. Not just when it's in the bush, but like when it runs. So often, like in that situation where the guy's about to die and just shooting off screen at something, the camera would just like zoom right into the person's face and then cut to black or whatever. But on that one, you actually got to see, even though it was a distorted image and you can't see it very clearly, you got to see the dinosaur like basically jump on the guy and put his jaws around his head, which is cool. Pushing the boat out. Let's carry on, because I can't talk about everything. Okay, I will. Even though I just said that, when I first watched this film, and that is it Creedence Clearwater Revival, Fortunate Son, that's playing. When I first heard that, I went, God's sake. Because and I get why they probably would have done it, but when a film is so synonymous with, when a piece of music is so synonymous with a film, it's hard to not see that film when you're seeing a different film use it. I don't know if I'm explaining my point very well, but what would be a really good example? Okay, Dirty Dancing, Time of My Life, right? If another film used Time of My Life in any other context, it doesn't necessarily have to be a dance, immediately, especially as well if it was remotely related to like a relationship or romance, right? But under any circumstances, if someone used Time of My Life, me at least, I'm immediately thinking about Dirty Dancing. I'm not thinking about the film that I'm watching now. Do you see what I mean? So I feel like once a film has kind of claimed a piece of music, unless you're really flipping the script on it, but that's probably why they did it. They probably did it so that it transports, I'm talking about Primitive War using Creedence Clearwater now, is it transports you as the listener right onto, was it Full Metal Jacket that used it? I can't even remember. I just tried to make a point about how it's tied so much to the film, and I can't remember what film uses it. It's either Full Metal Jacket or Apocalypse Now. It's one of them. Or it might be another Vietnam film. But everyone knows that song. I mean, it was written as a Vietnam protest song. So it's immediately connected to that. And then also, what I would have just loved the filmmakers here to be able to do is have a bigger budget, and that's not their fault. It's not their fault at all. They've done so well with a more reduced budget than you would expect from like your typical Hollywood blockbuster movie, particularly a war movie or particularly a movie involving dinosaurs. Like, look at the budget for Jurassic World movies, you know, and they ain't great, but they've got a big budget. But the reason I say that I wish they had a bigger budget is because this shot would look so much better in a wider screen, like on a wider lens. You know, if you had some big like IMAX lens on that, get a real nice look of the whole area that they're in, the skyline and everything. And instead we've got this quite sort of restricted frame. I don't know what the aspect ratio is of that. But yeah, I couldn't help but feel like, it just would look so much better with something like that. Like anything looks better in widescreen. Anyway, come on. Right. So this character's just been introduced. Obviously you got the two like suits, you know, coming in. Quite a typical kind of cliche thing, but you know, is what it is. We're here to see soldiers fight dinosaurs. All right, just preface it with that. So we're expending what's the phrase? Sustain belief, whatever. We're suspending our reality, or whatever that expression is. But this guy, Major, I can't remember what the orders of ranking are, but Major is obviously a bit higher than your average, your private or whatever. Comes out, two guys, I want you up on that ridge ASAP. I think that's a completely just throwaway line, just because they wanted to establish that this guy is the person that can like order people around. Like, what ridgeline? What were those people guarding his hut, and now they're on perimeter duty now? Like, all right, we'll just go along with it. But would he be walking around with his gun like that? Unless this is a completely active war zone location at that point, would he just have his gun in his hand like that, walking around? Wouldn't it be slung over his shoulder? He's not on patrol. He's not patrolling anything. He's just walking around giving orders. And this isn't an active war. They're not under fire right now. So I don't know, just little things like that where I'm like, okay, I don't know how much time would have been given to studying, you know, the military script, but you know what I mean, like studying the military to translate that into like an accurate script. But at the end of the day, like I said, it's not why we're here. If anyone's ever seen The Raid, I can remember watching The Raid like the second or third time I watched it, and I was in a room full of squaddies. They were a mate's dad's friends, and we were like, let's stick on The Raid. And in the opening scene, they have, if you've never seen The Raid, a bunch of like riot police essentially storm a tower block because it's full of drug dealers, and that's the plot of the movie. It has some of the best martial arts you'll ever see on film. It's fantastic. But right at the beginning, you've got two different groups from this platoon doing whatever formations they do to get close to the tower block and then get in. So I'm sat there with one of the squaddies, and he immediately, as they start doing their formation stuff, he's like, oh, this is a load of shit. But they wouldn't do that. They would just get their heads blown off. Oh, fuck this. And he just walks out of the room in like the first 5 minutes of the film. I'm like, dude, you're gonna miss some of the best fight scenes you will ever see. But the point is, I don't know how much time they can afford to give to like accurate military things when, you know, they're worrying about a budget of how do we make these dinosaurs look real, you know? And like I say, this sort of just throwaway stuff, but I don't know, little bits like that, they can sort of take me out of it. But I might be completely wrong. Like I said, I've never served in the military. I have no idea. Anyway, I want to preface it. Sorry, I just want to make it clear as well that I like this film. Primitive War is a lot of fun. I really do enjoy it. I'm just being extra critiquey. Okay, so now we get introduced to Vulture Squad. Wonderful. Slice his throat, stab him in the heart. Sure, that might be effective. I have no idea. Great stunt. Really great stunt. I don't know who the head of stunt department is on this film. I haven't looked it up yet, but that was fantastic. Flopping out of the I think that would count as a high. What do they call them? High jumps or high falls or something in the stunt world. But that was cool. So I love a good sequence like this. You know, the start of Predator 1 and Predator 2, to be fair. where you have like the main squad getting their hands dirty, getting in there. I love a good sequence like this. Again, no idea if it's being done with any military accuracy or whatever, but for the most part it looks pretty good. Yeah, I don't know if they did military camp. I haven't had time to look into it. I didn't even think about looking into it. Like they did on Saving Private Ryan. They did like months of military camp and stuff before. But it's stuff like that for me. Okay, so it's stuff like that where they're moving up through the village, side by side, and they've shot into that building a couple of times, and then he's just chucked a grenade in, and then they carry on, and they continue to engage the people in front of them. If it was me, I would have to actually get a visual confirmation that that room they just threw a grenade into has been cleared. I know you would think I've thrown a grenade in there, it's probably clear. But you don't know what was in there. If there was a massive like wooden table and the guy hid behind it, by Hollywood logic, he would probably survive. So I don't know, it's just stuff like that where I'm like, maybe, but you know. Has anyone ever seen Act of Valor? It's supposedly one of the most accurate like war movies ever made because it was written by and starring a team of Navy SEALs. It's based on one of their missions, so you would think everything plays out as pretty accurately as possible in that film. But the film falls short on the fact that it's a bunch of Navy SEAls and not actors, so a lot of the acting is not great. But, you know, so you can't, my point is, it's hard to do a lot of it. And what Primitive War does amazingly is let soldiers shoot dinosaurs, and we'll get to that in a bit. That there, I quite liked. That was just a little subtle thing of, right, there's a problem, there's a guy, this guy shooting down from an advantageous position with a big minigun or whatever it is he's shooting from. He's got some guys pinned down. We cut back to the sniper. We do a quick little small zoom into his face, and then he takes the shot. It's just that little zoom says so much of like, it's like holding your breath, like, oh, now I can exhale. You know what I mean? Just lovely little bit of filmmaking. So this, when I heard that, the first time I watched it, where the sniper asks for his mate to just give him a second before they, like, you know, go join the rest of the guys. Because, I mean, he's just, like, definitely killed 10 plus people. Like, and he knows that. And, not to speak out of turn or anything, but, I knew a guy who was in the TA and then got called up to the military I think he went to Afghanistan, and he was a sniper, and he came back a very different person. And I was told it was due to having deaths on his conscience. So when I saw that on Primitive War, the guy taking a minute to himself just to sort of breathe and compose himself, I was like, yeah, man, that's showing the horrors of war. Like, you've just taken some lives. So I liked that because it's a nice grounding moment. Alright, so this bit here, where all the guys, we're going home. Platoon. Okay, so I was thinking of that scene reminds me of Platoon. Apparently this would happen quite a lot with American soldiers in the Vietnam War. If anyone's ever seen Platoon, it has a really quite fantastic climactic battle. And there was a point where I was sure that most of the characters had been killed, and a few like come out from the mud at the end after like just about escaping death, and they're exhausted mentally, physically, emotionally, and like the first thing they get told is, well, pack up your gear, you got another thing to get on with, like another mission to go on. And I remember John C. McGinley, who most people will know as Dr. Cox in Scrubs. This scene is with him specifically, and he's just like, oh god damn it, why have I got to go do something else? I just nearly died, kind of thing. And those boys then on Primitive War, you know, they just nearly, well, they nearly bit the bullet. Every single one of them is fine, but yeah, it's just that kind of, they thought they were going home, and some general that they don't know from some whatever has just gone, nope, more shit for you to deal with.
What are we doing here? Because we are
That, to be fair, is quite good. Quite good dialogue, because it was a really good way of being like, tough shit, son. You're in the army. You got to do what the people above you say. The when I can't remember the character's name, but the leader of Vulture Squad, that guy, center frame. He's going, what the hell are we doing here? And the guy says, because we all made some poor life choices, and the old man would like to discuss the consequences of that with you. Just, you can't argue with it. You can't say shit. That is good dialogue. I like Jeremy Piven. Probably my favorite Jeremy Piven role is Rush Hour 2. Yeah, Rush Hour 2. When Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan, they need to up their wardrobe. No, it's Rush Hour. Yeah, it's Rush Hour 2. They need to up their wardrobe to get into like a swanky place, and they go into this like fashionable store, and Jeremy Piven comes out, and apparently he had no proper scripted dialogue in that other than "Hi, how can I help?" or something similar, and he just goes on this like tirade of like how he's gonna dress Chris Tucker specifically, and it's so funny. Love a bit of Jeremy Piven. Some of Piven's dialogue in this film is quite tongue in cheek, and again, I don't know if he's using correct military slang or anything, but he's such a good actor, and he has so much charismatic. He has so much charisma. He has so much charismatic. No, he has so much charisma, and it's such belief in what he's saying when he delivers it that it doesn't matter if it's cheesy dialogue, because he's delivering it as though it's Shakespeare. Do you know what I mean?
Y'all ready for your next kick-ass mission?
Bring it on, Colonel. All RT Vulture
So I mean,
needs is
sort of stuff like that. And you managed to do it without pissing me off. You ready for your next kick-ass mission? Like, an actor half of Jeremy Piven's stature would have tanked that, and it would have been awful. I'm sorry, Luke Spark. That bit of, there's some very good dialogue coming up that I hope I remember to point out, because there is good dialogue in this film. But there's just a few moments like that where I was like, you're lucky you got Jeremy Piven or whomever else is delivering this well.
Something going on out there in that valley.
Do you see that expression on his face then when he said there's something going on there in that valley? He's a good actor. You know what I mean? He's the expression in his eyes and the tone of his voice is laying the foundation for us as audience members that we have a problem. Houston. Yeah, so then we get some dialogue sort of setting up a little bit more about this platoon. He's done some shit. His platoon, like the sergeant, the Vulture Squad, they've all fucked up some way or another. They've all got problems, or they've been, just problem cadets and that sort of stuff. And that's what this conversation is. It's just given us enough to go on to justify the wheres and wherefores of why people are behaving the way they are, why they're in the position they're in. It's just exposition, but, does enough. So here comes
Probably all kill each other.
the best dialogue, right? I do like that scene. I thought that's the best so far in the scene, is the best dialogue we've had of the sort of banter and the camaraderie and, the unity of these soldiers, and, it's locker room talk, It's not going to be PC, but it's dirty, and it's how, guys like this that are fighting together talk to each other to tell them that they like their friends, It's like same as rugby players, When you're in the changing room, you're not complimenting each other on how well they played with like actually saying it. You take the piss. It's just how it is. So there's some good elements of that, and that's what I was saying about Dog Soldiers. He does it the best. But this is pretty, and this moment coming up now is really nice. Where well, let's just watch a little bit of it.
So you promise me when we get back to the rear, you talk to somebody about this. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
When I saw that, I was like, okay, yeah. For as critical as critical as I've been so far with like some of the cheesier dialogue, or maybe they're like rough around the edges plot points or whatever. I mean, I'm just being overly critical for no reason, I suppose. But that moment then is quite lovely, because you basically have these two guys we've seen them before, and the guy on the right of the screen struggling and doing that deep breathing after, you know, taking all those shots at people, and then him on the left of the screen. Sorry, this is mirrored. I'm struggling to realize where to point. Concerned for his friend, saying that he's got to go speak to someone, and you wouldn't really expect to see that level of, you know, basically what they're doing is lifting the lid on, you know, the horrors of war and PTSD and how it affects soldiers and all that kind of stuff. And you wouldn't necessarily expect to see that in a film about dinosaurs. You know, you wouldn't expect to see it in like Resident Evil. You know, you just. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, okay, cool. There's been some real nice attention given to the individual characters, the circumstances, stuff like PTSD. It's nice because I will say this: the individual characters on this are quite all well, not necessarily fleshed out. We don't hear everybody's backstory or anything, but there's enough differences between them all that you believe they're all separate real people. It's nice.
What is it?
So putting the red light on it, I don't know if they would have used red lights back in that. I don't know if that's a legitimate thing, but I like the choice of it being red light anyway. And then I love that this happens in movies as well. So with this shot in particular, obviously you've got his torch generating the red light, right? I guarantee you in real life that is not enough red light to then be splashing the entire side of his face. So probably what you've got just off of screen is, you know, literally a red light, probably an LED with a red tone to it or red gel or whatever in front of it. Yeah, just like splashing the side of his face to give that more, you know, the more sort of balanced or at least more color in the palette there. But, you know, it's nice. I like it. It's see, because you know it's that way because that guy was just stood up like while that guy's crouched down and he still had the red light splashed all over his face. So it's obviously rigged up off the screen. But like I say, I'm not critiquing it. This is how films are made. That's my favorite shot. Using the rule of thirds. So bottom third is the long grass, the middle third is the mist, and then the top third is the canopy of trees. Let me get out of the way for you. You see my mouse here? So that would be a line of third. Down here would be the second line of third. And then that's obviously the third section. But just look how nice it is. Quite often geometry, splitting things into thirds or quarters or whatever is used to create a lot of frames in filming. And that one looks nice.
Where that is moving in this direction.
So they're starting to ramp up the danger now. You can hear something big growling and rumbling and stomping its way through the trees. I wasn't sure if on this sequence they maybe like maybe it overdid it because it sounds like the dinosaurs are right next to them, but maybe that's what they were going for. Because there's that famous sort of Vietnam saying of like the trees were talking, to the point now where that's even been used in Helldivers for those who remember Malevolent Creek. But yeah, the trees were talking because there was just enemy everywhere and they didn't know where they were and they couldn't see them. They could just hear them, and then suddenly someone would get shot. So maybe they're doing that. So, you know, it's sort of ticking the box of this is a Vietnam movie. Yeah, so now we get our first like, you know, dinosaur attack since we've like, you know, started following our main group, Vulture Squad. So now we've been introduced to these sort of side villains, this group of Russians, and they pop up throughout the film, and they're usually just cannon fodder for dinosaurs. But here we got our first death. And although it's quite dark, you know, you get to see a relatively good amount of it, and it doesn't hide away from, you know, not fully showing you, because like I say, they it's dark and everything, but they don't hide away from the intensity of the violence of that, of having your face eaten by a dinosaur. Yeah, here's where I remembered the eyes. So now we're on the bit where they're in a cave for the audio only listeners. The lighting is really just relying on their little red I don't know what you call them, little torches that clip into your breast, basically. It's just relying on that to be the source of light. So a lot of the time in filmmaking, they talk about the source of light. So if you're doing a night scene and it's in a forest, your only realistic source of light is going to be the moon. So you can quite often light the scene by just casting that sort of clean, clear, crisp white light onto it. Or then if someone holds a torch, you can then start bringing in orange tones and everything, because you always want the light to come from somewhere. So that's why this scene is just the only thing illuminating it is splashes of red all across them, which aren't, again, to reinforce the point I made earlier when he was looking at the footprint, it's not, we think as audience members it's coming from their little torch lights, but in actuality there would be a whole lighting rig happening in front of them, splashing that red on them. So we got our first dinosaur attack. Right. So this sequence goes on for quite a while. And basically all that happens is they run through this tunnel, and I think they're doing what they call peel back formation, which is, you know, where most people move on, two stay back and defend and shoot, and then, or it doesn't have to be two, and then they'll catch up while another two have then started shooting, or you start shooting as the two that are catching up run past them. Then eventually they run to catch up, and another group of people have set up to start shooting as the people that were catching up run past. Rinse and repeat. And that's basically what they do. And throughout this entire sequence, you get wave after wave. Oh, that's quite a nice rigging shot on him there. You get wave after wave of these dinosaurs just like running at them. And because this is the first time something like this happens. The first time I was watching it, I was like, oh, okay, they're not going for like a horror kind of. You're like with Alien, it's one alien stalking the entire ship, and it's very horror-y and suspensefully. And then Aliens is lots of aliens and lots of shooting and stuff. So I was like, okay, they're going the Aliens route, where you'll notice with this film, there seems to be like an infinite supply of dinosaurs to do whatever it is they needed to do in that moment. And at this moment, they've got these little like raptors that are just wave after wave coming at them, chasing them down. They're killing them. Like the dinosaur death count in this movie is astronomical. And so initially when that happened, I was like, oh, okay, it's going to be a bit meh. And then I thought, no, that's good, because that is exactly what I want. I don't want a film about a group of American soldiers in the Vietnam War up against dinosaurs and then not have any awesome action scenes of them shooting the bejesus out of a bunch of dinosaurs. That's exactly what I want from this movie. If it was lone researcher from Jurassic Park, Isla Nublar Island, gets left behind, has to navigate their way to safety off of the island, then I want that to be more slowed down and horror, because it's one person against insurmountable odds. So you wouldn't be able to go guns blazing, because you would die. But this is a whole platoon of trained killers. So yeah, I want them to kill shit. So I don't give a fuck that it's just an infinite treadmill of dinosaurs running at them. Good. Just make sure they have infinite ammo. No. Who doesn't love a good T-Rex thing, you know? They are the Mac Daddy. I mean, modern paleontology, I believe, has discovered, is it the Gigantosaurus? I might have made that up. But there's a two-legged carnivorous dinosaur that's supposedly bigger and more powerful than the T-Rex. I'm not talking about the Spinosaurus, which Jurassic Park 3 was like, Spinosaurus is actually bigger and better than the T-Rex. And then modern paleontology was like, oh no, we got it wrong. It is not. So the T-Rex is sort of still the Mac Daddy, but I'm pretty sure there's another dinosaur that's meant to be bigger and better than the T-Rex, but I'd have to double check what the name of that dinosaur is. But most audiences around the world would be like, okay, T-Rex is Mac Daddy. So of course you need to have a T-Rex chase sequence. Okay. That, the like, as his jaws closed. The first time I heard that, because it's throughout the entire film, anytime a T-Rex like bites, you hear that gunk. It kind of sounds like, I don't know, wooden clogs or something. The first time I heard that, I was like, ooh, would it make that noise? And it took me out of it a little bit. And then I thought about it, and I realized that I really like the sound design there. Whoever the sound effects person is and the sound design and all that, bravo. Because my old dog, Turk, sadly not with us anymore, but what a boy. But he would whenever he would like bite, you know, maybe he like might miss the ball that he's trying to. He was actually pretty good. He would never miss the ball, but he might just like bite like that. Is that registering? I don't know if that's registering. But it would have like a particular sort of acoustic kind of reverberation in his mouth when his teeth would like together. And then I just thought, well, the T-Rex is miles bigger, not miles bigger literally, but he's a lot bigger, so there's a lot more air and acoustics in his mouth. So it could make perfect sense that the teeth clamp down and make that kind of noise. I like it. I think it's really cool. I've never heard that in like a Jurassic Park movie, for example, so it's nice. Okay, but this moment, you would run now. I get why they don't, because the director told them not to, so that the T-Rex can stand there and we can build the suspense for a while and it can do that roar. But you would have legged it the moment you heard that stomp, wouldn't you? Hear it again? Boom. Boom. I love it. I think it's great. I'm not totally sure I buy this. Right, so you can see, I'm pointing at my split screen here, but oh, I'm slightly blocking it as well. Let me move myself over to see how good my setup is now. I can move myself along the screen, but just let me rewind it even further. See where these guys jump over the log? You can still see him jumping over the log as the T-Rex has entered frame. And we're led to believe that the T-Rex didn't see them lay down behind that tree. Like, look, we'll carry on with it. And the T-Rex is like, ah, they're gone. Now, this is a good effective shot. Having them hide there. Maybe I'll move myself back over there. Having them hide there with the T-Rex over them, dribbling, growling. It's nice. It's very suspenseful. But I don't know, just I wanted them to earn that a little bit better. I was like, surely the T-Rex would have seen them. Surely. But I don't know if there was a film that did this before Lord of the Rings and the Fellowship of the Ring, but straight away to me that just looks like a homage to the four hobbits hiding below that sort of arch tree thing with the ring wraith looking over the top for them. It's good. But just earn it is my point. So I saw this bit and I was slightly initially disappointed because I thought they were just doing what Jurassic World did with the two lads when they basically do this, but this film takes it to another level. Watch how this plays out.
We're both qualified, Leon? What?
The T-Rex is too stupid to stop itself, and then it falls as well. So now you're in the water with a giant bloody T-Rex. I like that. That really upped the ante, because I was like, oh, well, we all know how this is going to play out. They're going to, at the last second, jump out of the way, and it's going to go chomp in the middle of the screen. It's exactly what happens, but then he falls off the side as well. So that's just a really good way to continue to like maintain the peril and the suspense and up the ante. It's good. So yeah, and we got introduced to the female character, the Russian scientist. Moves the plot along with plot points. Don't know how the T-Rex didn't see them on the beach there. I don't know. It's just sometimes with I don't want it to sound like I'm overly critiquing this film. I do enjoy this film, but sometimes with a lot of films, there's just a few like logical moments where you're like, well, the T-Rex would have seen them. It was just chasing them a minute ago, and it probably would have seen them sat there. I like this montage. I like it quite a lot. We just get. For anyone that's not seen it, or you're just listening or viewing or whatever, I'll explain to you a bit more, but you basically have a montage of our different groups of people, you know, the different the different soldiers. You've got the platoon split up at this point. You've got the two that have found the Russian scientist and then the rest of them. And they're just all making their way through the jungle. And like this moment, again, using the rule of thirds, tree canopy at the top, dinosaurs in the middle, and then grasslands at the bottom. Yeah, you're just seeing all these different things, hiding from T-Rexes, like just a little montage. My only critique of that, and one of the critiques of this film, is that the vastness of the dinosaurs, how far they've spread throughout Vietnam, but no one else, there's a war going on in that country during this film, and no one else seems to have noticed that there's a load of dinosaurs anywhere. Like I've never been to Vietnam. I don't know how spread out it is. I don't know how the battles would have been spread out, if it would just be particular areas or if there was a sort of front line throughout it. I no idea. But I just find it surprising. Maybe it's because I'm used to, you know, the internet existing. But yeah, I just find it surprising that like no one else in the rest of the world was like, seems to be a shitload of dinosaurs in Vietnam. Anyway, moving on. Because I mean, like here, for example, these look where these guys are walking, right? Look how out there in the Vietnamese countryside, in that big open plain, walking with an entire herd of, they're either Diplodocus or Brachiosaurus, or one of those from the sauropod family. But yeah, I just, surely something flying by, like a American jet or helicopter or whatever, that's gonna go bomb somewhere. Might be like, it's pretty bloody big lizard. I don't know. But at the end of the day, I'm here to watch soldiers shoot dinosaurs. So yeah, we can suspend our belief. It's fine. Yeah, so the plot gets moved on, and we find out that she's a bit of a junkie because there's nothing better to do while she's in the circumstances that she's in. Basically, she's sort of not been abandoned. Every other Russian scientist and stuff that she was with has been killed and eaten. There are other Russian scientists and soldiers and stuff somewhere else, but we'll get to that later. She's on her own, struggling to survive. The only thing she's got with her is morphine, so she's now a morphine addict, because what else are you going to do, I suppose, if you might get eaten by a dinosaur at any moment. That's framed and shot very nicely. She's got the low status. She's sat down. Different status to what we were talking about last time with, you know, something looking up and something looking down. This is three people in shot, but she's of lower status because she's literally lower down in the frame. And there, the two soldiers are on one side of the table. She's on another. She's on the other side of the table, and that also splits the screen. The two soldiers are on the left. She's on the right. That shows division. These are all just the subtleties of film language. Right, I noticed this the first time I watched it. This is an extra living his absolute best life. So we've seen these two guys above my head before. They're like the suits. And we've seen Jeremy Piven's character, the colonel, whatever. This geezer in the middle. We've never seen him before. He's just an extra who's like, I'm going to be in fucking frame. I don't know. He might not be an extra. I'm really sorry, whoever you are, if this sounds remotely disrespectful. I have been there myself as an extra on set when you know that you're finally going to be in frame. And not that you try and make it all about you, but like, you're like, oh my God, this is a moment to do something, to be involved. Look how intently my man is listening to him. And then later he's like nodding along like he's part of the conversation. I mean, yeah, of course, because like he wouldn't literally, in real terms, that guy wouldn't be in this conversation if he didn't need to be there. It's just funny to me as an audience member. We've never seen this guy before. And then like, as someone who works in this industry, I know that that's an extra because he never turns up again. But look at this man paying attention, leaning in. Like he's not acting poorly or whatever. But look at that nodding along. Baker's not crazy. No, he's not. They should have given him a line. Because he's so obviously got no idea what's going on. If they'd given him a line, it would have made it seem like he deserves to be there a bit more.
Find out. Check with your spook sources about this boring.
I love it.
Get right on this. Let's go. Come on.
Poor fella. And then he's gone. We've got our guys walking through some long grass-ish. Oh. That really good sound mixing. That like, and then the impact of the bullet. You literally, because I've got the headphones on, you get really good right-left balance, and I could literally hear it start in my right ear and then move sort of center and then hit, you know? Really good. And then all the shots coming from off screen. Really good sound balancing. Okay, so this I thought was quite cool. Is so as they're fighting and, you know, picking each other off and stuff, you get these giant what would these be? Would these be Quetzalcoatlus or better flying dinosaur? Not a pterodactyl. These aren't pterodactyls, these are bigger. I think these are Quetzalcoatlus, which would be like the biggest of the I don't know what you call those dinosaur wise, like what group they're in. Like the Diplodocus or the Brachiosaura, Sauropods, I don't know what they are. The flying ones. I think they're the biggest of them. And it reminded me of like vultures and how like in like after a battle you would get vultures and birds of all sorts like picking over the scraps and the remains of everything, of like all the dead people that died in the battle. All the dead people that died. Yeah, of course they did. Jesus. So I thought that was a really cool way to introduce these dinosaurs, the Quetzalcoatlus. I'm going to keep calling them that, even if it's not, into this scene under that context of like they're scavenging the battlefield. I just thought that was nice. Now that is nice. That as the bird lands, we're just keeping a close up on this guy's face, so we don't know where it is, but we know it's near him. And that is scary. Right, now we're squaring up to this guy. So if anyone's seen Jurassic World, no, what's the newest one? So I'm comparing things a lot to Jurassic World because it's the dinosaur franchise, you know. Jurassic Park is obviously the GOAT. I'm not the biggest fan of the Jurassic World franchise, but we'll go into that on a different episode. And I think Primitive War is better than any Jurassic World movie. Any of them. All four of them. Because I'm counting the new one as that as well, even though it's not part of the Chris Pratt trilogy. But on the newest one, they have one of these Quetzalcoatlus, and it swallows one of the people that's in the group, you know, the Jurassic World group that go to the island on that film. It swallows one of them alive, you know, like how a bird with a big neck like that would just. And I was like, oh, they're going to repeat it. They're just going to do that again. And so I was a little bit disappointed, because a film like this, you want it to separate itself enough from something like Jurassic Park and Jurassic World. And this film does do that. And this scene is a really good example of how it does that. So let's just play for a little bit longer. So instead of trying to eat him up, like grab him and eat him up whole, pecks at him, opens his guts, and then starts pecking out. You know, sorry, I feel like I'm shouting because I've got the film playing in my ears. But just to peck him, to sort of disembowel him, and then start going at it, I was like, oh, that's savage. Like, realistically, we don't know how they would have eaten. They probably would have did both, or like the thing that happens in Jurassic World where they like grab someone. Have you ever seen like a pelican or something eat a fish or a pigeon? There's guarantee you, right? Go on YouTube now, pause the podcast, make sure you come back to the podcast, but pause the podcast, go on YouTube and look up like pelican eats pigeon. And there's this pigeon chilling next to a pelican, and it just grabs it like that, points its beak up in the air, and then like it does whatever swallowing motion it needs to do to swallow it. So that's what the Quetzalcoatlus does. I don't know why I'm explaining this so much. I'm just assuming most people are going to be audio listeners, not visual watchers. So I thought that was a real cool way to give us a different kind of, like, you know, use of that animal killing someone that we haven't seen before. I liked it. And then it gets even worse, because now get all of these ones pecking him apart. Just pecking them apart. I don't know if they had tongues like that could do things like that. Feel really sorry for that guy. He's all kind of fucked. His arm falls next to his friends. A gruesome death. But good. So yeah, and then again we just get another sequence where there's like an infinite supply of dinosaurs. They're in a like circle formation, just shooting out. I don't care that there's an infinite supply of dinosaurs. This is why I watched the film. I wanted to see soldiers react how soldiers would react to dinosaurs. The guy just said, how many of these things are there? Doesn't matter, mate. There's fucking loads of them. And that's what we're here for. I love this. He's just like, fuck it. I'm a soldier. Got my last stand. Get my little knife out. He's already been shot. Not a lot he can do. Yeah, and realistically, I feel probably like they would have all surrounded him and started biting his legs and his arms and his face and all that when that one had on top of him. They wouldn't have all waited their turn. But it gave us, you know, a good moment.
Fucking murderous turkeys. You coming with me? You ready to fry some fucking gravy?
I think if you're an actor, and you know that your character's gonna die, you wanna have a good death, you know, and going down in this sort of scenario, I know he's not dead now, but like where you just got you and your knife and you're already injured and you're outnumbered. It's like, I don't know, something quite Viking about it. It's cool. You hear him in the background, you know, vocalizing his pain. That goes on for a while, and I just think as a actor, that's probably one of the hardest things to do. Is the scenes moved on in terms of other characters having dialogue and that kind of stuff, but you've got to be there as an actor making these noises. They might have even done it in post. They might have done it in ADR, you know, to sort of get the actor to come into a studio and make those kind of all those kind of noises, and then like layer it on in post or something. Or they might have done it then and there during the filming of it. But like to continuously do that, to continuously like, because so this scene may play out as like 5 minutes of screen time. That means it probably took a day to 2 days, maybe even more, to film it, because you got to get wides and various wides. You got to get shots of him on the floor and people's hands. They call them inserts usually, where you just have like hands doing something and that kind of thing. You know, like mending his wounds. You got to have every character that has dialogue or a reaction of note. Could be like reacting to, he doesn't look like he's in the best way. You know, everyone has to have their own close-up. You have to have shot reverse shots for conversations. There's a lot of different setups that you would have to do just for this one scene. Mostly because there's so many characters there. So that's going to take at least 2 days, I would assume, to film. Unless they were doing it real, like, shoestring budget-wise, let's just bash out as much as we can do in one day. But the quality of it, filming-wise and lighting-wise and everything, is good enough that you think that... I don't think they would have rushed this. So, yeah, as an actor, to just sit there, take after take after take, when the camera's not even on you, going, I'm in so much pain. Like, it's got to be hard to do. It's like crying continuously. It's hard to do. I do remember enjoying that whole sequence where they're in like her bunker, the Russian scientist's bunker. I can't remember her name, Sophia or something. And you know, you get that kind of... Dog Soldiers does it the best. Where you have a house, and I need to do a Dog Soldiers one. Don't worry, I'm planning on it. My original plan for this actually was to do a Primitive War versus Dog Soldiers duo video, but I won't explain why I haven't done that. Yeah, where you have like a premises, a house, a building, a bunker, and then you have the team inside it defending it from all ways. You know, it's very Night of the Living Dead. You know, the zombies surrounding the house, or even the Dawn of the Dead Zack Snyder remake, where you have the guys in the shopping mall and then the zombies all around it. In the old Dawn of the Dead, the zombies were already in the shopping mall, but you know, by the by. yeah, it's this is a good sequence. It's nice and suspenseful. Again, seems to be a hell of a lot of dinosaurs that can get shot and either come back or die, and another dinosaur takes their place. But fucking, that's why we're here. Yeah, and then he gets to say to his friend about, you know, his mental health. He gets one last moment of like, hey, fucking look after yourself, because I ain't gonna be around here anymore. He's the smoker of the group, so they give him his final light. The music kicks in, all the violins. All very sad. And then he gets to go out, well, not how we wanted, because no one wants to die, but he gets to go out like a soldier, you know? And so again, this is probably partly why I would have compared it to Dog Soldiers, is there is a similar moment to what's happening right now in Dog Soldiers. The pacing of this film is really good in the sense that there's quite a few moments where it's just dialogue between like the soldiers or the soldiers and the Russian scientist or whatever, you know, doing a bit of exposition, moving the plot along, explaining ways and wherefores, but it's all separated by these like fun, high energy, high octane moments of action of the soldiers killing the dinosaurs. The pacing's nice. I like it. I like this scene, not to see like, you know, the lovely Triceratops get eaten, but just what's happening with the sniper character,
Shut it down.
Logan.
I hate him.
You know, he's grieving over his best mate just getting killed by them. He's obviously got PTSD because he can't do his job of a sniper without chanting his things and
Okay.
having moments to collect himself afterward. I really like the actor's performance here.
I'll shut it down.
Really reserved. He's just talking to himself.
Yeah. You can all go.
And he sort of has that look in his eyes of like, that's the clearest he's
I am.
seen things for a long time. Like there was a moment just then in his eyes as he was putting the let me rewind it a touch. As he was putting the barrel under his chin. He has this look of clarity in his eyes. Like, finally he understands what he needs to do. Look how he's looking at the gun. He's like, oh yeah, that's my peace. That's my salvation. Those are my answers. Really, really nice bit of work from that actor. I'm not sure of his name, but I like it. It's just nice to have all these moments with this character specifically, the sniper. It's just nice to have these peppered throughout the film. To, again, the point I was making before is it's shining a light on the horrors of war, how it can affect you, PTSD, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, you would expect to see that in Saving Private Ryan or Platoon or any of those like more straight-laced war movies. The war movies that are just war movies, you know, like Jarhead is probably, they don't really fight in that film, but the one I'm thinking of is Hurt Locker. Really good example of like the war taking its toll on someone, or even American Sniper. But the thing with those films, American Sniper, Platoon, all the ones I just mentioned, is that they are straight-laced war movies. So of course you would expect some element of dealing with the horrors of war. What you maybe wouldn't expect is to see it in this kind of film. So layering in these moments of humanity really helps ground the film. And I don't know if this is deliberate. This is just my interpretation of what we're seeing right now. But you got these two fellas left side of the screen in a bit of shade. Is that maybe just the darkness? And then the whole right side of the screen, there's no actors on there. There's no characters on there. It's just the sun, the sunset reflecting on the water. So it's almost like lightness is on one side and darkness is on the side. Sorry, I'm pointing the wrong way because it's mirrored. The darkness is on the side that the soldiers are. So that could be they're in a dark space because they're in a terrible situation. That's probably what it is. Yeah, I just like that. It's a good bit of framing.
I know.
So just then we had another montage, and this is sort of to hammer home the point I was making before of like, I'm not sure I buy how vastly spread out all these dinosaurs are without the rest of the world noticing. Like, how is this the only platoon of soldiers that have noticed this? I mean, maybe there isn't. Maybe there's more platoons that have come across dinosaurs. We just don't follow them in this film. But I don't remember the film ever telling us that. So as far as we're aware, the only ones that experience dinosaurs are this platoon and the people that they come into contact with along their way. The entire rest of the US Army and the rest of the Viet Cong Army have no idea. But how long were they on that boat just then? they were rowing and sailing a long way. And they've already done loads of walking and stuff as well. I don't know. I don't fully buy it. But like I said, it's not what we're here for. This final sequence, from start to finish, takes a long time to play out. So I'm just going to try and sort of go through it bit by bit. No, not bit by bit. I'm just going to skip through to the bits that I like. But I will say that this climax is definitely better than the Jurassic World ones. The climax is there. Yeah, from this moment on, it goes off. So basically, I didn't give it much time to sit, but one of them is killed and taken back with them, one of the T-Rex's babies. And then in a similar way to the Lost World Jurassic Park, the second Jurassic Park movie, Mummy and Daddy follow baby and realize that it's dead and it's been killed by these guys. Just topsy-turvy, storms the facility and really puts the kibosh on this general's plans. There's my favourite sound effect again. When the T-Rex bites. That was awesome then. Where you have the guy in the T-Rex's mouth and you hear him screaming and stuff, and then like the T-Rex sort of reshuffles to like clamp down on it again, and as he bites, both the legs go it's just fun. That. So one T-Rex picks up a guy and like flings it out to the other one who catches it, and then as he catches it, he bites, and then part of the body flies out, and then the same T-Rex that threw it originally grabs it again. Like, you can tell the VFX team on this were just like, fuck it, we're going to do whatever we want, we're going to have some fun, because they are having a whale of a time in this end sequence. The dinosaurs are doing some shit that Jurassic Park couldn't even dream of, because they're too worried about making sure it's 12A so they can sell the most tickets. No, make it a 15 or a hard R or an 18 and just do it properly. Because this is one of the problems with the Jurassic Park World franchise is that it's the same problem that I have with the Hunger Games, is that it's horrible, diabolical, nasty circumstances, and it's played off really like nicely. There's not a lot of violence and blood, whereas when you compare Hunger Games to the Japanese movie Battle Royale, that is hardcore, and it's not just violence for violence sake, but if you're putting the characters in these violent circumstances, Hunger Games is a fight to the death. It should be violent, it should be hard to watch, but that and Jurassic Park, they just, not Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, sorry, they just tiptoe around it too much, whereas this is just savage, and it's what we want. Because it's what would fucking happen. Who would agree? This guy, the evil big boss, the evil Russian scientist, I don't know, it was a little bit, I know he's Russian, but it just reminded me of that kind of typical, like, here's the evil Nazi scientist trope. But, like I said, that's what we're here for, soldiers to shoot dinosaurs. I don't really care that much. It's just not the most well thought out villain, is my point. He's quite a one-dimensional villain. But who cares? We're here for dinosaurs, we're not here for Russian scientists. And then you get the Vietnamese actress who's been with the Russians the whole time, screaming at this American soldier, "You killed my family, you killed my family." Again, just sort of showing the horrible dichotomy of that war, and the casualties from people that, you know, aren't soldiers. The civilian casualties, sorry, is what I mean. Okay, so here again is one of those points. So these are pretty much the big bad of the movie. The group of velociraptors. The woman scientist at one point says there's like 6 or 7 of them, and they're the ones that killed Keys. I assume they're the ones at the start of the movie that killed the 2 soldiers that we never see again. And they've been following this group around. One of them still got the knife in his eye from when Keyes stabbed him. And yeah, I consider these the big bad. They've been the sort of persistent threat. Like in the first Jurassic Park movie, the T-Rex is the persistent threat, and in the third Jurassic Park movie, the Spinosaurus is the persistent threat. These guys are the persistent threat. And this bit where they... it looks a little bit cheesy, but I'm also not mad about it. I quite like how it's lit. You got the red, and then the coldness of the stone of the tunnel, and then the brightness of the fire and everything behind these guys. But it looks nice. But again, we come into the issue of a never-ending stream of dinosaurs. But this is what we're here for, baby. So now they'll start walking down that corridor, and I'm just not quite sure how long that corridor is. Because it seems to take them a long time to walk down there. I feel like they should be there by now. So it's just moments of blocking and staging and stuff like that, where I'm like, alright, well, so there's, a lot of chasing, turning around, shooting, but because of how unashamed of the violence this film is, the consequences of them getting caught are going to be horrific. So the ante is, and the suspense are maintained really well. And you can't help but feel sorry for this geezer. He never wanted to be there. Right, now so this sort of like grandstand climax of the film, I love it, because like for the last 20 minutes or something there's been like T-Rexes throwing people around, C4 blowing up, and then this, you have the helicopters land and the soldiers get out of it and they set a perimeter, and then you just get like hundreds of these velociraptors just storming at them. It's great. It's what you want from a movie about soldiers shooting dinosaurs. You want to see this. You want to see the helicopter just mowing down with a big, what was that, like a 50 cal machine gun or something? It's exactly the kind of climax that I want from this film. I want to see the explosions and all the shooting and the slow-mo. Yeah. So a film like Dog Soldiers is a lot lower scale. They don't have like these big sort of action sequences. It relies a little bit more on like suspense and almost a horror element to it, and it has moments of action. But they're nothing like quite bananas Hollywood as this, and they're both good in their own right. I think something like Dog Soldiers is probably forced down that road because of like budget constraints and that kind of thing, whereas they've obviously got a little bit more of a budget now, or filmmaking has just moved on to the point, because Dog Soldiers was made in, I want to say like the early 2000s, maybe even the late 90s. It's moved on to the point now where you can more easily do these kind of things, what Primitive War is doing. But yeah, it's exactly what you want, it's because, like I say, if the film was about, let me pause this quick. If the film was about scientists trying to get off of an island, or a place where there's dinosaurs or whatever, then you don't really expect them to necessarily do too much shooting and killing of the dinosaurs. But because it is about soldiers, that's exactly what we fucking want, and this film does it well. She's dual-wielding pistols like she's Tomb Raider. This is like a Renaissance painting here. Alright, let me rewind it a touch. Look at this. Let me move myself up into that corner. Look at that. Get the helicopter and all the soldiers bottom right. And then there's just like a plethora of dinosaurs lining up. The lightning happening. It's just good fun. Well, it's exactly what you want at the end of that film. It's a film set in the Vietnam War, and it's got dinosaurs in it. It's totally ridiculous. But I would have been annoyed if it didn't play out like that. This is what I mean. She's going, look, and there's Diplodocus poking their heads out of trees. The rest of the world would have noticed by now. Or at least the rest of the fucking country. And there you have it, folks. So, Primitive War. Good fun. Really good fun. I recommend it. I rate it a lot. Because it is exactly what it says on the tin. So, there we are. This is my first one of these for a while. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to be popping them out regularly now. Because I've got a swank new setup. And thank you all very much for listening, watching, viewing. Please, again, either follow the channel or subscribe to the channel, Chatting Script, or wherever you are listening to it. Spotify, YouTube, any of the other services. Please do like it and all of that, and share it with your friends. Thank you very much. Bye for now.